So Finzar, you
Sure.
are one of the most prolific video editors and tutorial makers on YouTube in the gaming space. Thank you so much for joining us today. How are you doing?
Oh, thank you, man. I'm doing very well. Thanks for having me, Tom. It's exciting. I don't usually come on podcasts, but this is my second one I've been on now, and it's very exciting. Ren's reviews has spoke very highly of you, and I love that
that's
episode.
very kind of him.
So I'm excited to be here, man.
Oh, wonderful. I feel honoured then. I hadn't realised you've only been on one before. That is quite an honour then.
I'm glad you think so.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, so currently you're sitting near 120,000 subscribers, which is obviously pretty high considering you started less than 2 years ago, right?
That's right. Yeah, I started in May on 2019. Yeah. Oh my god, didn't think I'd be here. That's for sure. At like 120. It's mad. Yeah.
How different does it feel to the lower numbers at all, or kind of do you feel the same, or what's different?
I'll be straight up with you, Tom. It doesn't feel very different at all. Like, the only difference is that you're tolerant. Like, it's kind of like I imagine it like it's like an addiction. Like, your tolerance to these things kind of like it keeps rising. Like, every time you hit like a milestone, it goes to like, I don't know, like 10,000. You're just like, oh fuck, I got to 10,000, and then that becomes the new normal again, and then it's like the next one, and then that becomes normal again, and then all of a sudden it's just a constant, like it always feels normal. Nothing ever really kind of smacks you as like, oh, this is wild and crazy, until you really think about it. And sometimes I have to like pull myself aside and just be like, Finn, you're on 100k, that's crazy, like, and then it feels good. Yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, no, that's interesting actually, because that kind of brings in the there's always something else. It's never quite enough,
Yeah.
and that might be perceived as somewhat negative. I'm not sure.
Yeah, absolutely. If I was like watching someone say this who's got like 1 million subscribers, and they're just like, oh, it's like nothing really, I'd just be like, what a dick, like, like what a twat. But it's like until you start like getting higher numbers, because if like a year ago I told myself that I was going to be at 100k, I would shit myself. Like, I would actually shit myself. I'm not even kidding. Yeah, it would be crazy, but it's just because it's such like, it's not just like a overnight thing. It's slow, and you've worked for it, and like some part of me is kind of just like, okay, well, it's because of this that I'm here, and therefore it's not such like a massive shock. That I'm trying not to sound douchey, but it's like, it's really hard when talking about like numbers to not sound douchey.
No, you don't sound douchey at all. Sorry, that was bad phrasing on my part. What I meant was more in terms of I guess the mental of like the mental health, the effect on you personally if it never feels like quite enough. Do you know what I mean? I worry that might be negative for you.
No, I never really think about it like that, to be honest. It's more, I guess the mindset of not really thinking about it too much is probably the best thing for me, because like by not focusing on it as like a huge number, therefore I don't have like these crazy expectations in my head that I need to meet, if that makes sense. Like, I feel like if I was really on like keyed onto the fact that I had like 100,000 subscribers like every day, and I was just like going crazy about it, I feel like that would be really unhealthy compared to just kind of accepting it as it is and being like, okay, well, I'm still going to make content that I would make if I was on 100 subscribers or 50, that kind of thing. So that's the mindset that I'm in mentally.
Well, one of your, at least in my opinion, one of your best series, which I really enjoyed, which is your kind of gaming editing tutorials, you actually did when you were under 10k, and they're at reaching nearly a million views now. Like, they're really well regarded. The comment section is full of big YouTubers all saying, yeah, this is my go-to.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, that is pretty crazy. One of them's on like 800k views or something, which is like, I did not intend for any of that, to be honest. The first how-to I made, I was on like 200 subscribers or something, and I only made it because I was bored. Like, that was it. I was like, what should I make? I'm kind of tired of doing gaming videos. I might as well just like make fun of the thing I'm doing a lot of, which is editing. And and then suddenly people started really liking like they actually kind of like learned from it. And my intention was not to teach people with that video. It was to like make fun of editing. But in turn, I accidentally taught people how to do something apparently. So yeah, it was a weird journey to get to this now where I'm actually doing tutorials. Yeah.
Well, what do you enjoy more? Did you enjoy making the gaming style content more, or do you think you enjoy making the tutorials more?
Definitely the gaming stuff. Like when I was doing gaming videos, which I don't do gaming videos anymore. But when I was, that is what I love to do. Like more than the tutorials, definitely. Yeah.
Are there any regrets there, or?
Not really. No, I mean, it's kind of like, it's like no, God, I'm not sure how to answer that. It's like, I'll say it, but maybe don't put this in. Like, it might be, like I kind of wish my gaming videos did better than my how-tos at the time. But right now, I'm really glad that it was the how-tos that did better. But at the time, I was just like, oh man, why is my fucking gaming videos doing better? Like, why the how-tos? So yeah, I was never really like I wasn't ever too happy about the how-to videos, generally speaking. Like, they're okay to make, but it's because they were being requested so much that I felt like I should do them. So that's the reason I did do them. Like, I guess around the time I was doing like my subtitles one and my transitions one. You can put all this in, by the way. This is like, yeah. It was around like the time of those ones, which I was just kind of like pumping them out to pump them out, not because I really wanted to. It was like I was doing it because I thought they'd do well. Which might be seen as like sad, but at the time I was quite happy doing them. Like it wasn't like any skin off my back kind of thing. Like they were doing really well, which made me very happy to see my channel grow. But yeah, a little bit of sadness actually that my gaming videos didn't quite take off, but I guess that's just kind of like normal, and gaming is so heavily saturated, so like there was honestly a very, very slim chance that was ever going to happen. But yeah, I hope that answers a little bit.
No, it's interesting. Well, I think something I've heard recently about the gaming space, at least at the moment, sometimes it's not quite enough to be an individual, and so that's why some people are kind of grouping together. Particularly, we see this in Warzone a lot, right, where it's 4 YouTubers, and then you can kind of recycle the content each between 4, and you actually have kind of a group of guys that you play with often.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, me and Rizzledigs, in particular, we played a lot of games together. Like, like COD, for example. We, like, the day that came out, we like planned to take days off of work at the time because we were like we need to make a video on this the day it comes out. Unfortunately, like the beta had been out for 2 months before, so everything had already been done. But we were just like, no, it releases, so we got to do that. But yeah, in essence, yes, like having someone to do it with, 100%, like that. That's a good thing to do if you're wanting to do gaming. But there's also a downside with that, which is that like if you're wanting to do gaming as a channel, you have to kind of let the audience in on like in jokes, which is quite hard to do. It's one thing trying to get your audience to like you, the person making the video, but it's like another thing trying to get them to like a group of friends that you're playing with, because it's hard sometimes. I speak for myself, like watching a YouTuber who plays with a group of friends. And I watch one video of theirs, and it's with a massive group of friends, and they all have these in jokes, and they're all like laughing at random shit they're doing, and I'm just like, it's funny, but like I don't know these guys well enough to kind of really engage with it, which is something that someone told me that I thought it was really good advice. It's kind of stuck with me since, and I've since then wanted to do more like solo based stuff, which is why I think my channel's starting to go that way now, which is like I'm doing stuff by myself. Only me in the video, really. Minus a couple of other cameos here and there. But yeah, hope that answers your question again.
It does. It really does. Because you mentioned, actually, I think in your journey to 100k, that one of the big parts of it to do with the in-jokes is you don't want to exclude the audience. I think your exact words were, get all Gordon Ramsay up on this. You know what I mean? Cut out all the, you know what I mean? Because exactly as you say, like if the audience is feeling excluded from something funny, it's not a nice feeling. So yeah, I think you're completely right.
Exactly. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to do, especially when you're starting out on YouTube. You can't just expect people to be like, you know, insane at making content by themselves. It's a really hard thing to do. It really is. Like I think it looks easy, but it's actually takes a lot more than just editing to be able to like make good solo content. Yeah.
What do you think the difference is? What's that secret pizzazz between any old Joe making solo content and the ones that do really well? I appreciate that's a really broad question, but
one example I think about a lot outside of interviews is video game Donkey. He is like he's such a good YouTuber. He's so good. He's just so good. He's up there as like one of the top for me personally. But I don't think his editing's like anything special at all. Like his editing is just like it's just him talking and it's like a picture on there. I think about it, I'm just like, oh my god, if I could only edit like that and get that amount of like viewership and like business coming in kind of thing, like it would be crazy. But the key, like the thing that separates him is that he's got it as a person. Like he's so confident and he's so engaged with his videos and like the content he's making. I imagine that he sits there and he just like, he doesn't really think like, what do my audience want to see? He just thinks like, I'm going to make this because like I really like Nintendo. I'm just going to make this thing. Even though it's like, on paper it's a really boring video. Like it's really shit. But actually just him, like his presence it makes it so much better. And I think that's what, it's kind of hard to quantify as like one thing that separates like him from the rest. But I'd say it's like being really comfortable with yourself. I think you can tell when someone's really comfortable with themselves and they just kind of like don't care what anyone else thinks about it, like especially if you're getting high numbers, because then it gets really hard to not care about what other people think. So yeah, I think that kind of and it makes it kind of bulletproof in a way. So yeah, I'd use Donkey as a really good example of that.
Well, I'd say you display similar traits in terms of the stereotype of an editing tutorial person. Very few editing tutorials actually kind of involve the author to the degree that you do. You involve yourself in a character far more, which I know I haven't particularly seen in previous editing tutorials.
Right.
So,
well, that's
nice
of you to say. Yeah.
Well, no, I just find it interesting because it is different. It's not particularly done before, and certainly not to such a high level and to such a successful level. I think people maybe they click for the, perhaps they click for the editing tutorial. I want to make gaming videos, but they stick around because you present it in such an engaging, funny manner, and they stick because of the person.
That's nice. Thanks, man.
I'm not saying it to be nice. I'm just saying it I think that's something that you're doing, which is.
I appreciate it. It's like, well, yeah. I mean, I like I told you, I did not intend for the how-tos to do this well. It was literally because I was bored. Like and I guess I've been trying to get back to that point, strangely, where it's just like I want it to come across as if I'm not like overthinking it too much, because I don't know. It's hard to phrase it. But yeah, I really like the way I did that first video. I didn't even try. Like it was just fun to make. That sounds really douchey. It was fun to make.
It doesn't sound douchey. It doesn't sound douchey at all, mate.
I didn't even try.
It doesn't sound douchey.
I definitely tried. But it was do you know what I mean though? It was like it didn't feel like I was putting that much effort into it, because it just kind of came very naturally the way that I was doing it. I was just like, my thought process was literally just like, no one's gonna see this. I just want to like shit on editing basically. And that's kind of that's like a mindset I've been wanting to come back to, because I really like it when I'm in that mindset of just like, and I did it recently with this like a video, a really short form video, like 1 minute long called editor.exe. And that shit, I can't believe that did well.
It's funny. It's good.
I made it as just like a thing to put up before I put up my how to be a YouTuber video, because I realized at that point I hadn't uploaded for like a month. So I was just like, I got to make something just to like tease it and like get people ready for it. And that was literally the only intention with that video. And then it does that well. And that is another example of me just like making something that I just felt like making on that day, and what like people just respond to that. It's and I'm seeing that more and more now. Like the more things I do and like the videos I make, which I'm like not trying so hard on, in the sense that like I've like got these expectations set and I need to meet them, and I'm like if I just relax a bit and just do it, what makes me laugh and like that kind of thing, then yeah, they seem to do well. Yeah. So that's a weird one though. That editor.exe video, that was I didn't expect that at all. So yeah.
What, you didn't expect it to do well, or?
No, not at all. No, I thought it was just gonna be like I don't know, just kind of literally just like my intention was just to tease people about the how to be a YouTuber video, because that was the one I wanted to do well. And then when I see this one that's like popping up, and I'm just like, oh shit, man, like maybe I shouldn't have put too much effort into that how to be a YouTuber one. But actually I really like that how to be a YouTuber video. So
it's great. It's a great video.
That was a nice one. That was a nice one to make. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the short one might simply be because it is short. Someone, it's the old adage of there's loads of viral stuff going at the moment simply because they're either under a minute hashtag shorts, or say they're 2 minutes, and people are like, 2 minutes, I can spend 2 minutes on something funny.
Yeah. Exactly. It's short form content tends to do like really well, because you're not asking that much of the audience. It's just I imagine with my how-to video, to be a YouTuber one, like people look at an 18-minute thing and they're just like, I don't know this guy. I don't know if I have time like to invest in that. It's a big ask. That's another thing with like views. When there's a big number, like it's easier for people to click it because they think, oh, this is obviously a good video. Like a lot of people have watched it. So yeah, I think that's a big part of like engaging the audience as well, as like making them feel confident in your stuff, which is really annoying because as a smaller creator, it's so tough to get there. I know so many channels right now which have like killer content, like way better than mine, and like way better than most other, like some of my favorite channels are sub 500, like below 500 subs, and I just can't believe it. But the thing is, like, it's so hard for smaller creators to grow now. Like, just trying to get people on board with like videos which are constantly at a low amount of views, like getting people on board with that, unless you just manage to have like a thumbnail and title which is so clickable that they just can't help it, and then they realize that the video is also amazing, like that's great, but it's so hard to get there, man. Like it's so tough.
You've spoken before about the importance of branding in terms of just thumbnail and title, which I think it is still probably quite understated, unfortunately, because as you say, you can put all this effort into a video, but if it's not a banger thumbnail title, then
oh my god, it's sad, and it's kind of like one of these harsh realities of YouTube you just kind of have to accept when you're going into it. It's your thumbnails and titles have to be like really good, and sometimes you'll see people who do really shit thumbnails and really shit titles, they do really well, and you're thinking like, wait, what? Like, what am I doing wrong? But it's just like luck of the draw, I guess. But yeah, titles and thumbnails so important. Oh my god, yeah, I went to VidCon in my how to be a YouTube video. I kind of like went over it. I went to VidCon and I went to this talk, and this guy was talking. He'd worked with Mr. Beast, who is notorious for his thumbnails, and notorious because he's such a huge YouTuber. Like, he's, and I think he knows it. So the guy that worked with him was basically saying, Mr. Beast like won't upload a video until the thumbnail is like perfect. Like it's the first thing Mr. Beast will do is like go to the thumbnail, and he'll spend days on it, or weeks sometimes. He was saying like, so it's the, I'd say it's like I'd say it's probably the most important part of like YouTube growth is nailing the thumbnails. Nailing the thumbnails. Yeah, it's really kind of soul crushing in a way, because you can make the best content and it won't get seen if the thumbnail isn't good. Unfortunately, most times at least. But yeah, even if your thumbnail's like good, it still might not be clicked on. So it really needs to be like pretty incredible if you want to like truly. But it can be done. Like people can pay. You have thumbnail artists as well that you know do commissions, and there are some amazing thumbnail artists. All you need now is just like money to do that. So yeah, I recommend anyone watching this that you invest time in learning how to create thumbnails properly. 100%.
Well, you speak some 3 bits of experience actually. One is your thumbnails are bangers. Secondly is you've got a massive tutorial on how to make banging thumbnails, which is a very good tutorial. And thirdly, you've actually helped some other YouTubers making thumbnails and helping them out, haven't you?
Yeah, that's right. Namely, Ren's reviews. I've done his recent thumbnails. Yeah, I do kind of speak from. I like to think that I speak from experience, but I still don't like my thumbnails very much personally. Like, oh my god, I slave over them. Like I find it so hard to get to a point where I'm like happy with a thumbnail. I usually go through about 10 versions on each video, and they're all pretty different. Like I sometimes find myself like on my thumbnails folder, and I'll just like, you know, press the arrow key a few times and just go through all of the versions of this like one thumbnail, and everything's just like like changing. It's such it's like a whole other process to making videos. I need to make a new thumbnail video, because the one that I made before is like, it's good. I like it, and it gives like a good basics, but I've got more to say on it for sure. Yeah,
I like that.
So
wow.
Important. It's so important, Tom. Like, oh God, it's crazy. Yeah, there may as well just be no video creation and only thumbnails at this point. Like it's so important. It's honestly, I feel yeah. Like I said, a little bit sorry for smaller creators. You know, it's really hard to do. Yeah.
I think there's a hell of a lot of different creative things that can be done in a thumbnail, right? Which perhaps we might not have as much time to talk about. But say a title, right? That's just words. That's text. What to you like makes a title better than another?
I wouldn't say I'm an expert on titles, to be honest, because I worked for a YouTuber who I won't name, just for privacy reasons.
Yeah, of course.
He's on like I think he's on like 9 million at the moment. Wow. He does gaming content for like a younger audience. The kind of stuff that I would never watch, like you would probably never watch. I think most people watching this would probably never watch. But it was a really good experience, because I realized, like on a fundamental, like on the core level, like I had to basically I'll go through what my job was first. Like I had to come up with the thumbnail ideas, so not make the thumbnails, just the ideas, and also the titles. So I'd come up with the titles, the final titles, and every video he'd come out with, he'd send me like the raw footage of, and a basic summary of what the video is about, and he'd ask for like at least 3 titles and like around 2 to 3 ideas, like sketched out designs. And it's like a machine, man. Like that YouTuber in particular, like it's like a big oiled machine, so many cogs turning in it. Like I never knew that there would be someone just coming up with sketches for thumbnails, let alone like I know that someone makes them, but sketching them is like, what? So yeah, it's crazy. But the titles part of that, I did a lot of these kind of like really clickbaity ones. I had to do a lot of clickbait for that particular person, and that really showed to me like what does work and what doesn't work. I'm hesitant to say on a grand scale, because like really that was aimed at a younger audience, and if I in my videos now was to put stuff like how to edit in like capitals with like that's gonna blow your mind and like all this like really clickbaity shit, like people wouldn't respond well to that, because they're just, you know, they're more than that. I have higher opinion of my audience than that. So but for children it's different, because they, you know, you're like it's a battling ground for their attention, and they can give a lot of attention, and that means money for those YouTubers. I'm speaking so real right now. This is like completely emotionless. Like it's all, yeah. Like,
no, it's interesting. It's good business. Like there's nothing wrong with it. It's interesting to listen to and learn, because I think this side of things people don't tend to get to listen to. So it's just genuinely really interesting.
Yeah, it's a completely like new part of YouTube that I had no idea really existed. Like that whole like gaming, getting like millions of views a video. The amount of money that these people make is just stupid. Like it's crazy. And yeah, it's just like it is. I wish I could just like listen to someone talk about it rather than having to actually do it, because it wasn't that like unless you don't mind being someone's like, you know, working for someone. If you want to be your own YouTuber, 9 times out of 10 I'd just recommend really trying hard on your own stuff before like working for someone else. It's always a good experience working for someone else, but yeah, I think it's just more of a personal thing actually, rather than, I don't want to dissuade anyone from working for anyone else. I think it's a good thing, and I've done a lot of that, but like I've come to the point now where I don't ever want to work for anyone again. Like yeah, it's a lot of experience, but yeah,
is that just in
don't do that again.
Is that just in the YouTube space, or have you never enjoyed working for other people, say like, I don't know, in a department store, or, you know?
That's a good question. Yeah, no, I've never enjoyed working for anyone in my life, to be honest. To be completely honest with you, Tom, like I've always wanted to be my own boss. Like before I was doing YouTube, I was freelancing, doing freelance filmmaking. So I wasn't technically working for anyone on like on a constant kind of basis. It was just part-time most of the time, or just one-offs. And that's just like the way I am, I guess. I'm aware that it's not like the most ideal for money making, and that's kind of something that you kind of I've had to decide between. It's just like, do I want to make more money and like move out and do all this stuff and do normal person my age things, or do I want to like work for myself and like aim for something big? And I guess that's kind of where I got to. I was just like, yeah, I don't really like working for other people, to be honest. So yeah, I'm trying to work for myself, and I'm finally getting close to it at the moment. Very close. So
yeah.
Fingers crossed. One day.
One day. No, that's awesome to hear, though. That's really awesome to hear. Because I think it was Naval, who's like massive philosophy kind of freedom of time, economics, that kind of thing. He said the biggest sign of freedom is waking up and your calendar is entirely determined by you. Like, you are in charge of your own time. You can wake up and do whatever the hell you want, which by the sounds of it is where you're pretty close to, which sounds awesome.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, I'd love to. It's a good mindset. I like to. That's how I'd like to be. That's my goal. Yeah, and it'd be great to earn enough money to like live, but unfortunately on YouTube, it's a misconception people have about it. It's you just don't earn much from it, to be honest. Like it's unless you have millions. Yeah, or you're a channel about money. That's another thing. They do pretty well for some reason.
Why do they do
Just
so well? Or
just an
are they just
algorithm
naturally
thing.
inclined to? Are they just naturally inclined to handle money well?
Yeah, apparently, like it's something to do with YouTube, like valuing that kind of content. I don't know why. It's yeah. I'm sure there's a very perfectly incredible reason for that, as usual YouTube. But yeah, that's just a thing I've noticed. Is like money channels. They always do videos that say like, "Here's how to make money on like 20k subscribers," and it's like. And then they show their account, and I'm looking at it now with like 120, and I look at their 20, and they're like on triple what I'm on now. I'm just like, what am I doing wrong? Yeah, so it's crazy. It's like every single one. They always make a whole load, and it's actually a known thing, and I don't know why, but it's a known thing that gaming is notoriously low CPM, which is. Yeah. So if you're looking to make loads of money from gaming videos, the thing is, if you can make gaming videos that do well, you're gonna make a lot of money. But it's so saturated that like if you're just making like gaming videos that are doing okay, you're just not gonna. Yeah. Once again, I don't want to discourage people, but it's like if you're in YouTube to make money, then like you kind of have to know. Like I tried going there in my how to be a YouTuber video a little bit, but. It's different for like individual channels, but personally, like, yeah, yeah.
Other than the oversaturation, what do you think accounts for the low CPM rate in the gaming genre?
I think a lot of gamers swear. That's one thing. That's pretty much the only one I know of. Not actually 100% sure why it's lower, but it is like my friend, who once again I won't name, but my friend who works for another bigger YouTuber. He's been telling me stuff about like what works in terms of like putting things in a title, like whether you relate it to gaming or like money, and everything points towards like gaming just being like a low CPM. If you're family friendly content, like the person I worked for was a gaming channel and they were very family friendly. Their CPM was actually really good. So I really do think it's about that kind of, you know, what's the majority of gaming is like Call of Duty. I imagine that like that's probably got something to do with it. It's like the kind of blood and gore of it, the violence aspect maybe. I'm just speaking out my arse, Tom. I have no idea, to be honest.
No, it's interesting. It's interesting.
There's something to do with the family-friendly side, though. That has got a lot to do with like making good money on YouTube if you're family-friendly. So,
I'm curious about the educational-based ones about money, and I have a very vague spitball theory here, which is their competitors. So, say like I forgot the name of it now. What's the sponsor that not Squarespace, the sponsor that people do courses on?
Skillshare,
yeah. There's plenty of sites popping up like Skillshare. I actually applied to a job at a banking one that did economics ones, which are essentially paid sites exactly like YouTube that just do lessons that people can click on. Right. And there might be kind of a consideration behind the scenes at YouTube, which is, we can possibly profit off, you know, if we do purely educational content. Possibly as a side thing, I don't know.
Yeah, that's an interesting. Yeah, I definitely think there's. Once again, like I feel like educational videos come under that like bracket of being pretty family friendly. Like usually you wouldn't find a educational video which is, swearing. I was gonna use an example, but just swearing. Like it's it's pretty. That's probably why my CPM's pretty low on my how-tos as well. It's like I'm not the typical like here's how you do this, guys. Like drag this over. I think I probably swear a bit. I can't remember like offhand, but I do. Yeah, probably not all too family friendly. So yeah, I'll have to look into it more like after this, because it's definitely like an interesting thing to like figure out how YouTube works. And like if you're looking to make money on YouTube, then like you got to look these things up and like figure out what is going to make more and what's going to hinder you making the most out of it, you know, like maximizing your revenue. It's a very complex machine. Yeah.
Okay. Well, you mentioned meeting a friend in London, like, and that friendship was entirely started through being YouTubers and going to VidCon together. What's that kind of like to realize, you know, you can develop these relationships with people purely through this hobby, I guess, of YouTube?
It wasn't too much of a shock. Like it like because I think I say that because like we're friends now. Like we're really good friends, me and Riz, and but at the time, definitely it was like I remember talking to my mum about it. She was like, "Are you sure you should like meet these people online?" And I'm like, "Mum, like relax, bro. Like it's all good. Like I've made sure we're all kosher. It's all good." Which is a really important thing to do. Once again, anyone watching this, like if you're gonna meet anyone online, you gotta make sure that it's kosher, please. Oh my god. Yeah, I don't wanna make it sound like you should just meet anyone online. It's
No, I don't think anyone's gonna take it.
It was a long process of like we played a lot of games together, me and Riz. Like a lot. I got so many. Yeah. We really went through a lot on games to get to that point where we'd be like, all right, we'll meet each other. That's fine. Yeah, but it was crazy. Like it really, at the time I was just like, man, this is so cool that I'm like meeting someone through doing something that I love. And like it's someone that's like-minded. And of course he's going to be like a really good friend because like we're so similar in that sense. And like he just happens to be like an amazing dude. So it was, yeah, I feel like I got very lucky meeting him in particular because that was like really good timing on Reddit. I talked about it on the YouTubing thing. We met through a fucking human fall flat post on Reddit, which is like such a weird meat story, isn't it? But yeah.
Yeah, I guess what I'm getting at is I know people who are kind of scared to dip their toes into YouTube or scared to get started is you never know where it can go, and there you go, you can end up, you know, doing this and meeting someone who you end up being really good friends with. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Absolutely.
There seem to be so many possibilities.
Yeah, I didn't have any expectations of like meeting any good friends off of YouTube. Like it just started out as like a solo thing. And that's where I was intending it to go. It's just to be solo content, but yeah, I think that's a good point to make. It's like, just never have like expectations that are like too crazy about YouTube, you know. Don't expect that you're going to make no friends, but also don't expect that you're going to make loads of friends and like amazing friends, because it's going to be like journeys are going to be so different to one another. But if you put yourself in the right place, like you're with like-minded people, you'll be able to find friends pretty easily. Discord is a great way of doing that. Like recently I had a message from there's like a group of people in my Discord who are really active, and I stay in touch with them because they're just really nice people. And one of them was like saying like, oh man, your Discord is like, I've made some really good friends in that Discord. And it's like that was more mind-blowing than like me meeting Riz, because I was thinking like, wow, I created a space where like someone could actually have that. Like that's nice. And they're just putting themselves in the right place to do that. And there are so many places like that. YouTubers basically all have Discords at this point. And if you really love a YouTuber and you go and you be active on Discord, like you're bound to find like-minded people. So, but yeah, I think at the beginning there we were saying don't have expectations of things. That's the main thing. Yeah.
See how it goes.
Exactly. Yeah, just like ride the wave, bro, as a surfer dude would say.
As a surf dude, well, you got the hair, so yeah.
Yeah, this is like a weird halfway house of like long and medium hair. I've had so many messages about it, just like, dude, cut your hair, please. I'm just like,
nah, bro, it's the Rona times, all right. There's no I think no one can expect haircuts.
Yeah, fuck you, dude. It is what it is.
It is what it is.
Exactly.
You've mentioned previously that your parents actually bought you that mic when you mentioned a script, which is obviously really kind of them. That's very supportive. Oh god, I hit my light. Yeah. That's really supportive of them. Kind of, are they, you know, what did they think of the video that came out of that?
Yeah, oh my god. I was writing, at the time, it was just before I started YouTube, and I was writing a script for a Red Dead Redemption 2 review. Because I fucking love that game. That game's amazing, in my opinion. And I was writing a review for it, and I was like, my parents, they're just like happy to like listen or read anything that I have ready and on hand, and they were wondering what I was doing that day, and so I read it out to them. They were like, wow, that's really good writing and really nice to listen to. And I don't know why they bought me the microphone, but they did. This microphone. I don't know why, but they just did. They don't usually do things like that. I don't have parents, so it's just kind of like it was crazy at the time. I was like, hence partly why I was like, right, I'm gonna do it. Like, I'm gonna do YouTube. Yeah. Sorry, I can't remember what the question was.
No, I guess I was kind of curious as to, you know, to how much they're supporting you and, you know, about this journey, and perhaps they have premonition of where you would end up. You know, a career perhaps built on this microphone, you know?
My parents are just incredible. Like, I know there are a lot of people who have parents who are like the complete opposite. Like, YouTube is like a foreign concept, and it kind of becomes a point of like attack when your child is like trying to do YouTube properly, and they're just like, oh, you disgrace to the family. Like, it's that's so heavy. But like,
I get that, but it's nothing to do with YouTube, so
right. It's I mean, like, I'm pretty sure my parents would have the same thing with something if I wanted to do it, but fortunately for me it wasn't YouTube, and they were like, from the get-go, they were just so supportive, even though I was like doing absolutely nothing with it, and I was doing the world's shittest content, and like it was they've always wanted to watch my videos like as I'm editing them, and like honestly, I don't think I'd be here, like, as in at this point without their support. Obviously, like, I feel like that's a given. Like, it's been an incredible thing to have them be so supportive. I'm not really sure what else there is to say on that, other than like, I really hope that like people can find that somehow. I mean, Rizzlediggs, namely, he's like, his situation at home was the complete opposite. Like, he had to hide everything he did on YouTube, out of fear that like parents would take his channel down, kind of, or like make him take it down, kind of thing. Wow. It was like, seriously restrictive. And I realized that there are so many situations out there like that, where it's like people are really restricted by expectations that people have about YouTube, especially because there's definitely a stigma around YouTube. Like, people have asked me during lockdown, like, if I've met them like walking where I live, and because we know a few people like around where we live, and they've asked me like, what are you doing at the moment? And I've been like, oh fuck, here we go. Like, we're gonna have to, it's either I go through everything about YouTube to try and like convince them that it's a good thing, or I just say something else. Usually I just say like, I'm just like editing, I'm a video editor, like, that's it. And they're just like, wow, that's really good, yeah. But like, on the odd time, like, I've said like I'm a YouTuber, or like I've never said I'm a YouTuber to anyone in my life, and I never want to. Like, I do. If I say like to someone like I'm doing YouTube at the moment, then it's a totally like wild conversation of just like, they either know someone else who's done it, or they're just kind of like, okay, great, man, like, cool, okay, yeah. My parents' friends initially were like, my dad told some of his friends about it, and they were all just like, oh, it's dumb, that's stupid, like, that's like the dumbest thing, like, you should kick him out, kind of thing. And and like, but now it's different, because apparently having a big number makes it acceptable. That's another thing I found with YouTube. It's like, those conversations have now changed, because, you know, now I can say that I've got a high number. How depressing is that? How depressing is that?
Yeah, as you say, it's very I don't know, perhaps depressing that the social acceptability of it is dependent on the number. It reminds me of I read this, I can't remember where, but it was basically, if someone says that they're an artist, right, the question they get is always, oh, how good are you? Oh, are you a good artist? Like, what, rather than, oh, do you enjoy it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's almost like, I don't know, without getting to a big, capitalism, blah, it's all about the value that you can kind of provide rather than how much you're actually enjoying it.
Sure.
As a creator.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that, in my experience at least, like, the majority of people that I've spoken to about it, they value the numbers more than the, like, what you get out of it, or the value that you give, or, like, the content itself. Yeah, I find the whole thing about numbers quite, it can be really toxic, can be really depressing. Very rarely is it a good thing to be thinking about numbers a lot. I don't look at my analytics on YouTube that much at all. Maybe like twice a day. Like, wake up, have a look, go to bed, have a look, kind of thing. Like, I really, really try not to look at it, because I've been through the whole process of, like, updating every, like, few minutes after an upload, kind of thing, and it's just really, like, I think it's really unhealthy. That's just how it is with YouTube. It's so hard not to be like that. Like, if you go into YouTube and you don't go through that phase, like, what are you? Like, you're not human. Like, it's yeah, you definitely have, like, it's numbers are, oh God, so essential, but also so, like, the worst part about it, in a way. Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Not to say that I'm not grateful. I'm so grateful, but yeah, it's definitely worth speaking up about, though. Like, numbers aren't everything. I respect people who have, like, 10 subscribers and are sticking to a schedule and just, like, fucking plowing through that constantly. So much more than, like, I don't know, like, I see a lot of verified channels that just like to comment and, like, kind of just flex, like, I'm verified, I can get to the top of the comments. That's a thing that you can do, by the way. When you have a tick by your name, the comments go to the top. Therefore, you get, like, a ton more likes. You can say anything, and if you're verified, you get likes. It's just how it is. Like, but yeah, I mean, I think my point was, like, I really respect people who just kind of don't conform by the numbers, kind of thing. They'll do it anyway, and because they love doing it, and, like, their content is usually way better when they're like that. When it's for those reasons of just making it because you want to make good content, that's when the content is good. Yeah.
Just like someone who would make a very well edited 20-minute Premiere tutorial when they only have a couple thousand subscribers, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. That's good. Well, I'm glad that you mentioned it in terms of the depressing aspects of it, because I've noticed with a lot of American vloggers, I've heard the comment before that one just did not want to include any negative aspects about her life, about YouTube, as part of her content, and that kind of struck me as quite. I'm not too sure, but it stuck with me, and I guess the reason she gave for it is she was saying that people came to her videos and tended to watch it, like, as a relaxation thing, to just kind of to rewind and enjoy, and didn't really go there to have any depressing realities, I guess. And that kind of, I don't know, that was almost quite uncomfortable for me to be like, so there's definitely some negative things behind the scenes, which, so I'm quite glad that, which obviously she's completely free to not include whatever she wants to, because it's her channel, obviously. But I'm glad that you include kind of the mental health parts of it, where you mentioned going on walks, getting exercise, looking after yourself, that sort of thing, in that video that you did. Yeah,
I think it's so important, honestly. I mean, it's difficult, like, getting, probably, if you try and keep your videos completely, like, mental health free and, like, make it all positive, the truth is about YouTube and, like, content creation, when you're, like, pouring your heart into videos, it tends to, like, stick with you, and like you're basically putting yourself out there, like essentially. And I can imagine that if you're putting yourself out there as like this very positive person, to refer to your example, like I imagine that suddenly like that become like it kind of seeps into your like normal life, and that's very unhealthy. Like you, in my opinion, you should be able to like, you know, come to terms with these like realities of these things, which I'm sure your person does. But I can totally imagine that being positive on YouTube all the time has got to be fucking hard. Like, I couldn't do it. Oh my god, no. Like, satire is my haven in my videos. Like, I need to make fun of things, otherwise it's just boring. Yeah, it's like I think that's the best way I could say it. Yeah, I don't want to sound like, oh god, I'm trying so hard not to sound.
You're not sounding like a douche at all. I can assure you that. Don't sweat it. Don't sweat it at all. Well, I think people listen to this for the realities behind it, so I think this is what they're interested in. You know what I mean? And of course, when something is a bit more, I don't know, truthful or business focused, there's always going to be some realities behind it all that's a bit like, oh shit. So don't sweat it at all. Okay. In terms of you saying that your humor was very satirical, you actually did one quite recently which I really liked, which is your Dragon's Den parody, which the production quality of that was mad. So I was wondering if you'd like to talk a little bit more about having what looked like a hangar or something to film in, like having all these sofas, all these props, or having all the lighting. Like, how did that all go down?
All right, so I have 3 lights that I own from ages ago. This is from like freelancing days, so I've had them forever. Really good, just LED panels. The hangar is a friend of the family's. We don't own it. It's I would not explain that to them. I would not be like, this is what I filmed, by the way. This is like, show them Finn's Den. Oh my god. No, that was that's just been a very convenient space. So it's one of these things like right time, right place kind of thing. Like he said that the guy said that he had it available for us. He said it to my dad, and my dad was like, Finn, like, there's a warehouse, you know, could you use it? And I was just like, yes, I can use it. Like, give that to me now. Unfortunately, that runs out in June. Like, I can only use it up until June, so I'm pushing shit out. Like, we're in that warehouse, I'm making the most of it. That Finn's Den video was literally just like, I want to make the most of the warehouse. Like, I'm gonna do this.
Fantastic video.
Thank you. Yeah, and I think the biggest production value for that video in particular was obviously the warehouse is fucking awesome. Like, that's so cool to have. But really came from my brother being there. My brother and his girlfriend were there helping film it all. And I don't know, something about him being there that brings out like my inner idiot, you know? And I just like, I don't care when he's around. Like, I want to make him laugh. That's like my objective really when I'm like acting. I say acting. Like, that's literally like I feel like that's what makes it easy for me to just be a fucking idiot. Like, in that video especially, like doing that terrible Scottish accent, like, and the goggly Finn Meaden one, like, that was, that was probably because of my brother. Like, it's so different doing it by myself. I don't even know if that comes under production value, but to me it does. Like, it's having him increases everything in terms of like content wise. In my opinion, it increases everything like by times 10. So
well, it's really interesting to hear that, because you came across as very relaxed, and I guess it alludes to what you were saying earlier, that when you cared less, you kind of enjoyed the content more, and by the sounds of it, you're kind of a lot more loose, to say relaxed, and if you're just trying to essentially mess around with your brother. I think that comes across really well on camera, where essentially the final product is you acting, you care less, you're just having fun, yet it's hilarious for us as an audience to be party to that. Yeah,
no, I mean, I think I don't know if I've said this to anyone, but like, before I did YouTube, me and my brother, we made skits like that. we have a series of we have like 10 videos called Get Out of Here, 10 separate Get Out of Here's, which are all just me and him, just like that we never intended anyone to see them except us. And they're all just like, they're all perfect little videos, like just I mean, I'm never gonna release them, I don't think, but my god, like they were I think that's like basically how I'm trying to get, like, again, like that's kind of where I'm trying to get back to, is like that the concept of just not doing it for anyone but yourselves. Like, I feel like that is really what makes like the best kind of content. Personally, it's just personal taste. Everything's personal taste, Tom, you know. It's the thing with YouTube. Yeah. So yeah. But yeah, that's a big shout out to my brother right there. Like, he's oh my god, he's behind the scenes. I haven't credited him for it, like anything. I feel awful about it. But as far as anyone else concerned, he's just another Finn, really. You know, he's just another Finn.
I was going to get onto the multiverse of Finns, because I haven't quite seen anything quite like that on YouTube, but you've nailed the one-man production thing very, very well there. I was wondering if you wanted to talk a bit more about the multiverse of Finns going on there.
Sure. I'll correct you on it. It's called the Finniverse. That's what we call it.
The Finniverse, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But there's so many.
It's an easy mistake to make.
There's something like, 15? Like, there's a hell of a lot. I tried to count them as I was going through, but, like, there's certainly at least 10, I'm pretty sure, man. Before I lost count.
In the Finniverse, there is essentially 7 billion Finns. You could come up with any character. Like, any character, and there's like, a Finn that's associated with that. Like, that's the way that me and my brother think about it. Because basically, me and him, like, we created this, like, concept ages ago. It's literally just a concept for me and him, like that. It was for no one else, and it just kind of came into YouTube. It was it was like but yeah, our creation of it was literally just for us, and we thought that, like, it would be really funny if there was like basically a parallel universe where it's just like everyone's a Finn. That's so dumb. It's like, yeah. Oh god, it sounds so like self-loathing and like, I love myself, but like, fuck me, it's just like, we just made it because it was funny, like, and now I like that. I really love that people are on board with it. The reaction to the last video has like made me so happy, seeing that people are just like, get out of here, and like all this shit, and like, oh, it's so good. I love it. Yeah.
Do you think you'll do anything similar in terms of parodies of, you know, ye old classic British TV shows?
Yeah, I don't think there's so much mileage in the Finniverse, man. Like, you really go anywhere in it. One that we're definitely gonna do next, I think, is The Godfather, a parody of that, and it's gonna be called The Godfin. And the thing is, we've already made that. We've already made it. Like, I made that video about 4 years ago, and I acted my heart out in that video, and it's fucking amazing. It's honestly like my favorite video, like, out of before YouTube. Like, it's so good. It's like, yeah. I really wish I could share that, but I'm way too embarrassed to. Like, that's like too close to me. Like, but it's so. Oh, I don't know, man. Talking about it with you now, it's like, it's making me want to like release it or something. Like, but I can't. It's it's very. But that's the next one. It's gonna be Godfin.
Gonna go for a remake.
Really excited for that. Yeah, it's gonna be a remake of the Godfin, which is a parody of the Godfather.
I like that.
Yeah.
There's like 3 layers here, plus the Finverse. Oh my god.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh,
it's a wild machine.
A wild machine. Here's quite a standard one, if you'll forgive me. But like, say if you're going into planning to make a video, what does the broad outline of a video from conception to publishing look like for you?
In terms of like, do you mean like, what does the process
I guess
look like?
I mean, like, say, how do you come up with ideas? How do you refine them? Do you script? Do you storyboard? Kind of, how does it all...
Okay.
So obviously, like, the videos you make are really complicated. The edits are nuts. They're crazy, man. Like, I look at them and I worry. So I'm just wondering what the workload is like for you.
Yeah. So most of the time I'll come up with a script. In terms of like coming up with the idea, I'll start like stage one. It's like always come up with the idea. I don't know. Things usually just happen. Like the hacking video, I got hacked, so like that gave me the idea to make a video out of it. I'll go through that one because I think that's an interesting one. It's like, so the thing happened, I came up with the idea. It's different for gameplay because usually you just, the idea is the game basically. And if you come up with a story about it, that's great. But yeah, thing happened, came up with the idea, wrote the script. That's like the first thing I always do is write the script. And then, what did I do first on that one? Voiceover. I usually do voiceover first. So I'll read out the script into Audacity and I'll just put that in and chop it up to get like a rough idea of like how it might sound, how it might look. I might put in the title cards like here and there. Then I'll do the main bulk of like face filming, which this is what happened with the hacking video. It's like the bit in the warehouse, I did that first because that was like the most intense part. And then the rest is just, it's a mystery to me as well, man. Like I kind of just go freestyle on it, and I have no sense of structure when it comes to editing, really. Yeah, especially like I can't say I have a structure when it comes to any of my edits. One thing that I do, which is really useful, is if I have an idea for something and I'm just listening through the timeline and I have an idea for it, I will type it out into like onto text on screen so that it's there. I've got my idea like there at the point on the voiceover.
Like a marker.
Yeah, exactly. Like on my how-to videos, literally all of my how-to videos, I'll go through after I've done the voiceover. I'll go through and I'll type out what I think should be there, which just kind of is basically just like the bones of the video, really. Yeah, that's it. I mean, and then when it comes to publishing, thumbnail is usually the last thing I do. Sometimes it's the first thing I do if I have like a clear idea. But once again, like I'd say thumbnailing is probably like the hardest thing to come up with, because it's like I say, like I can't express to you how important thumbnails are. It's coming up with those is so hard. Like trying to get something that pops. There's like a lot of cheatsy things you can do, which like just usually always look good. Like faces, like to do wild expressions, like just yeah, exactly. Like anything that like expresses emotion, people are usually attracted to.
Robert De Niro.
Robert De Niro. Why the fuck did that work? Like, what is that? What? I said.
Just slap Robert De Niro in the thumbnail and you're fine.
Yeah, I know. My brother warned me about that. He was like, man, that's not gonna like. I'm pretty sure like the first time I did it, it's like, why have you put Robert De Niro? That like makes no sense. And I'm just like, what? I don't know, but I'm just gonna leave it up there, and it worked. I was right. It's so weird. It's that shouldn't have worked. But yeah, and then the final thing is just publishing it, which is so easy. I know that a lot of people get quite nervous about publishing, and that can be like the hardest part in a way. But for me, like the nervousness comes with editing it. I'm just constantly thinking like, what do I want people to see? What do I not want people to see? And that's kind of like a form of acceptance. I just accept that that's how it's gonna go. And people like it, people don't. It doesn't matter. Like it is what it is.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, okay. Well, we'll finish with a closer then, which is, other than of course we've discussed thumbnails at great length, but if you had to give any pretty standard advice, real down to earth advice to people looking to get started on YouTube, what do you reckon you would tell them?
It's gonna sound very standard and kind of vanilla, but really, the best advice I can give anyone that's starting out on YouTube is that you've got to make content that you'd want to watch. And you got to watch it back, and you've got to be so brutally honest with yourself. If something doesn't work, like you got to just chop it out. And also short, in terms of like practical advice, like short content, probably the better thing to do when you're starting out. because you're asking for less from your audience. Unless you're Dream. Apparently Dream, I don't watch Dream, but his videos are mega long and he grew like stupid amounts. Forget that bit. Don't put that bit in. Just, yeah. Short content's great. Thumbnails really important. Titles after thumbnails importance. But yeah, most importantly, you gotta love doing it, man. Like, oh, people can tell when you don't love it, you know. Like if you are not enjoying the video, even if you've enjoyed like recording it and then you're editing it and not enjoying editing it, people can tell. It's so easy to tell. You just know. Like there are videos that I've made which I just like I hated making them, and you can just tell. And they did shit, and they're really bad videos. Yeah, you gotta enjoy it. Try and get to a point where you can enjoy it, please. That'd be it. That's my advice. I hope that's all right.
Well, wonderful. Well, I'll say a big thank you then. Firstly, on behalf of all the hundreds of thousands of people around the world who have benefited from your tutorials. I think you've taught more people than most teachers teach in a lifetime. So that's something significant to come away from. But otherwise, thank you so much for coming on the show today. We've really appreciated learning from you and hearing all about your story and how you got started over, just the last 2 years. Man's a mad lad.
Thanks for having me, man. It's been fun.